Hello, my name is Ivy Kuberry, and I'm the Environmental Education Specialist at Oil Creek State Park. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why we should provide habitat for fireflies and how you can go about doing that on your own property. Why should we provide habitat for fireflies? Well, if you're a gardener, I have some good news for you. Fireflies can spend up to 95% of their life in a larval stage, and they're going to be living in the soil, mud, and leaf litter at that point, where they're eating snails, slugs, worms, and a variety of insects. Fireflies can provide valuable pest control services, but keep in mind, if you use any pesticides on your property, this will negatively affect the fireflies. There are over 2,000 species of fireflies in the world, and most of those species are pollinators as adults. This means that they're eating nectar and pollen and carrying some of the pollen on their bodies from flower to flower. Without pollinators, like our fireflies, many of our flowering plants cannot create viable seeds, and that means that the seeds will never grow into plants. This would eventually lead to the extinction of many of the plants that we rely on for food. Finally, fireflies create memories that will last a lifetime, and who doesn't want that? So what can you do for fireflies on your property? You could start by providing each of the necessary habitat elements, such as food, water, shelter, and space. You don't have to provide all of these elements on your own. You can work with your neighbors. For example, if your neighbor has a pond, maybe don't worry too much about providing a water source on your property. As we've already discussed, the food for the adult fireflies would include flowering plants. So if you want to redo your garden, maybe try including different flowering plants with a variety of bloom times throughout the year so that there's always pollen and nectar available for them. You also might want to consider looking into invasive plant species and trying to remove those from your property, replacing them with native plants, because the native plants are what's best for our native insects. For more information on flowering plants and native versus non-native plants, check out these links. When it comes to creating food for their larval stage, you can try creating bag compost. Now this is something fun that your entire family can get in on. You'll want to collect several lawn bags full of leaves, and then go ahead and place those bags in a shady spot in your garden or your lawn and wet them down. And go ahead and keep them wet, or at least damp, for about 3 to 6 months. These bags are going to start attracting snails and slugs, which is perfect for growing fireflies. And then in the spring, you can go ahead and put that bag compost into your garden. So you can just till it right into the soil. If you repeat this every year, you're going to be keeping that food supply going for these young fireflies. You'll want to make sure that there's a source of water either on or near your property. As we said earlier, if your neighbor already has a pond, then really you don't need to worry about it. But if they don't, you might want to consider putting in some sort of water feature. Fireflies really don't need that much water. A pond is great, a stream is great, marshes and rivers, lakes, awesome, but they don't need that much. So a vernal pool or just a small depression that holds water during their mating season really is enough. There are a ton of ways that you can provide shelter for fireflies on your property. The easiest is probably just allowing the grass to grow up in your yard higher than you normally would, especially in June. But you could also plant shrubs, trees, and taller grasses in your garden or around your property, but please make sure they're native plants. Another way that you could provide shelter is just having a pile of logs or a pile of rocks somewhere. Definitely don't burn your leaf litter, because I said it earlier, but the larvae are going to be in leaf litter and mud, so if you're burning the leaf litter, you could be killing a bunch of fireflies. And now for the final habitat element, space. Fireflies need plenty of dark space to find their mates. Light encroaching in these spaces can make it harder for them to communicate with each other. Because remember, they're using their bioluminescent abdomens to call out to one another. And if they can't see that, they're not going to be able to mate. So you can help out by just turning off your porch lights at night, or you could switch to motion censored lights or shielded lights. If you'd like to get more involved, Mass Audubon has a citizen science project for you. If you go online and visit www.massaudubon.org and search Firefly Watch, you can find out more about this opportunity. For more information on how to create firefly habitat on your property, you can contact your local service forester. And for more educational opportunities, you can get a hold of me or contact your local state park.